This week we are studying Parashat Vayikra, the beginning of a new book, the beginning of the book of Leviticus. And tonight I'm going to share with you fascinating and literally an inspirational thought from the Zera Shimshon. The Zera Shimshon quotes a midrash on our very, very first pasuk. This is the first piece of the Zera Shimshon on Parashat Vayikra. And the midrash tells us that, and I'm going to show you the verse in a moment, but the midrash tells us that Moshe Rabbeinu was saddened. He felt a little left out and hurt by the fact that he was not able to contribute to the tabernacle. You see, all of the Jewish people, we've went through this many times. The 10th of Tishrei, Yom Kippur, Moses comes down and says, Hashem forgave you for the sin of the golden calf. The 11th of Tishrei, the very next day, he says, by the way, you know that God said that the way for you to atone is going to be through a tabernacle. Next 2 days, we're talking now the 12th and the 13th of the month, were the 2 days of fundraising for the tabernacle. The one and only time in fundraising history that the fundraiser said, stop, we have enough, especially in a 48-hour period. Most successful campaign ever ran. And for that reason, everything was filled up so quickly to the point where even the princes, the leaders of each and every tribe, all they brought, which even though they were tremendously valuable, but all they were able to bring were the stones for the breastplate of the Kohen Gadol, of the high priest. This left nothing for Moshe Rabbeinu to bring as his own donation to the Mishkan. And he was sad. The Midrash tells us that Hashem replies to him and he says, don't worry. Don't feel bad at all. Because your speech, Moshe Rabbeinu, is worth more than anything else that anyone else brought. You are the only one that I called. As the verse says in the beginning of this week's Torah portion, Vayikra el Moshe, and Hashem called out to Moses. Let me... We are in Leviticus 1:1. Does everyone see it? Vayikra el Moshe, and he, speaking about God, called to Moses, Vaydaber Hashem elav me'oel moed lemor, and he spoke to him, Hashem spoke to Moses from the tent of meeting, saying. This, the Midrash explains, was Hashem telling Moshe Rabbeinu, don't feel bad that you did not bring anything because you are worth so much more. Sorry, there's something flying around here. You are worth so much more. You have done so much more. So the question the Zera Shimshon asks is, what did Moshe Rabbeinu do that Hashem was so pleased with? So he tells him he doesn't need to. He tells him he has the merit. He tells him it's fine. What is it that Moshe Rabbeinu did that pleased Hashem so greatly? So the Midrash goes on to elaborate further. And this is based on a verse in Mishle. Take a look at this verse. This verse is in Mishle, chapter 27, verse 18. Notzer te'ena yochal pirya v'shomer adonav yichubad. The Midrash quotes only the first part of the verse, the part that says, he who guards a fig tree eats its fruit. The Midrash says, what's going on over here? Why is the verse singling out a fig tree as an example opposed to any other type of fruit? The answer is because a fig tree, now I'm not a farmer, and I don't have not an orchard or a field, but the Midrash tells us that fig trees have a very specific difference and I guess something very unique about them in particular compared to any other type of tree. And that is, by all trees, normally the tree, all the fruits ripen at the same time and they're picked at the same time. However, fig trees, the Midrash tells us, each fruit is on its own timeline. which is quite fascinating, whether it's each fruit or each cluster, but they're all in their own and individual timeline. That means they're constantly growing at their own pace. Now, what that means is that the owner of the tree has to constantly guard the fruit and prevent from any birds coming and eating it or attacking it. It's not like just during a certain season do you have to go and guard it. No, the owner of a fig tree has to constantly, continuously guard the fruit of the fig tree. So Moshe Rabbeinu saw the Mishkan being put together. He didn't only see it, he oversaw it. He was part of conducting it to make sure that it was the exact way that God commanded it to be done. Just like a fig tree owner or the fig tree watcher, each and every stage of the development of that fruit, Moshe Rabbeinu was there each and every stage of the development of the tabernacle, of gathering all the materials, of fabricating it, of putting it together from beginning to end. He overlooked each and every person that was there as well. So why was it so amazing that Moshe Rabbeinu was there? Why is it that it's as if he gave just as much, if not more, than anyone else? The Zera Shimshon says, okay, I like the analogy, but why? He answers based on the Talmud in Masechet Baba Batra, page 9a. Listen to what the Talmud says. I'll say it to you in Hebrew first, and then I'll explain. The Talmud says, Gadol ha'maaseh yoter min ha'oseh, which means one who convinces, one who gets others to fulfill a mitzvah is greater than the ones who do it themselves. Now, it doesn't mean that the person who gets others involved in a mitzvah is not supposed to do the mitzvah. It's like you can't go and preach not to speak lashon hara, slander, and speak it yourself. That doesn't help. You can't go around preaching to keep Shabbat and to keep kosher, and you yourself are not doing that. That obviously is hypocritical. But to go and involve other people in fulfilling a mitzvah is something which is so great, it's even greater than the merit of the person fulfilling it themselves. Explains the Zera Shimshon. Do you know what Moshe Rabbeinu's role was? Moshe was there inspiring each and every Jew to take part in this tabernacle. Each one. Whether it was to bring, whether it was to do, whether it was their great skills and talents they were able to contribute. Each and every person. And Hashem treasured that. Hashem said, you are there inspiring in order to maximize each and every person's potential and contribution to this great and holy mission. That is the ultimate goal. That is great. Moshe was called alone, says the Midrash, says the Torah. Moshe was called alone to the tent of meeting to speak to Hashem, for Hashem to speak to him, to prophesy, to deliver to him. And all of this was attributed to the fact that Moshe Rabbeinu inspired and cared for each and every person. Moshe Rabbeinu, if we look at this very first verse, there's an extra word, Vayikra. Take a look again. Vayikra Moshe v'daber Hashem elav me'ol moed lemor. This word lemor, saying, is extra. We already have Vayikra, he called out to him, and Vaydaber, and he's speaking. So why is it that Vaydaber and lemor? The Zera Shimshon says, superfluous, it's extra. Comes the Zera Shimshon and answers, it's implying that Moshe Rabbeinu's motivational speeches, Moshe Rabbeinu going and inspiring everyone to do, is what helped him succeed in being the greatest leader the Jewish people has ever had. So the lesson that I want to take from this piece of Zera Shimshon is quite simple. You know, sometimes we think we're able to do it all on our own, and that's all that matters. And the world has too many problems. The Jewish people have too many setbacks that it can't all fall on my shoulders and I'm going to do it all. We can't think like that. Yes, we need to educate ourselves, fulfill for ourselves, and then we cannot forget others. We cannot forget our family members, our friends, those who we think we can make an inspirational and a positive impact on. whether it's helping them, showing them, teaching them, encouraging them, inviting them, involving them, whichever way you think it's going to be, that you're going to engage that person in Torah, in mitzvot, in the relationship with their creator, that's a great thing that you're able to do. And that is what's going to help you to succeed in your own avodat Hashem, your own service to Hashem, and also succeed in helping others joining good causes, joining causes that you believe in, and that hopefully you can inspire them to believe in. That's exactly what Moshe Rabbeinu did. We don't need to pull our own weight on everything. No, because on one hand, that's not enough, and on the other hand, that's more than enough. Meaning, it's not all Hashem wants us to do. He doesn't want you to do it all yourself. Rather, he wants you to involve others in it. And he'll consider that as a greater merit. This is very, very inspirational, very, very apropos to the Passover holiday, which in just a week and a half from now, we're going to be sitting around our Seder tables. Some of us with family, some of us with friends, some of us with our extended family, some of us all alone. Everyone is going to have a very unique and different Passover. Last year's, I could say, would be the most unique, but this year may still be quite unique. But nevertheless, anyone that's there at your table, we're not coming and teaching and forcing. No, we're there to inspire. We're not there, and I'll quote my dear friend Chaim Hirsch, who we've had on a couple times to give some classes. He says a parent's duty, and this is true for a parent, for a friend, for a rabbi, for a teacher, for anyone, for a neighbor even. Our duty is not to be a policeman or a policewoman. Rather, it's there to inspire our children, to inspire our peers. And that is the greatest thing we can do. Try to think of motivational ways to engage those at your Seder. Some have different traditions of dressing up. Oh, here we go. Someone put it in the chat. It's not about being a policeman, it's about being a salesman, which has its positives and negatives to it. But I remember last time we said that someone mentioned something. Maybe it was you, Eileen. No? Anyway, someone said something. But either way, the idea is try to motivate, try to inspire, try to get people engaged. Everyone has their own props for the Passover Seder. Some people it's costumes, some people it's sketches, putting on a little play, having different props at the table, whether it's figurines, toys, masks. Everyone has something special that they do at their Passover Seder. And if you don't have your special twist for your Passover Seder for your family, we'll start thinking of one and start figuring out how you're going to implement it, B'ezrat Hashem, this year.